We are back. We are back after the half hour. This is the second half hour, which will complete our happy hour for Monday. Yeah.
We've been
Okay.
talking about the ultimate, in my opinion, the ultimate type of suffering is losing a loved one, a friend, family member, whatever, even a cat. That means a lot to you, right? Or a pet, whatever. What would you say to somebody who's been through a tragic car accident? What would you say to somebody who, oh, I got to prove to TikTok I'm real,
Great. Do
which
your
means
puzzle.
Joe's is going to happen any second now.
That's right. I'll do the puzzle piece here in a second.
Hey, I'm real TikTok. Do you know
You're a
I'm
real
real?
boy.
Hey,
You're a real boy.
I'm a real boy. I want to be a real boy. So what would you say to someone who loses their job or gets in a massive car accident? It puts them in the hospital. They don't have the funds to. What would you say to someone like that? We know when someone we've covered very well when you lose someone, a lot of good ideas for that. But do you guys have any ideas that you would say to someone who is suffering in a different way other than the loss of a loved one?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Brendan Burchard, who's one of my favorite coaches when he talks about life coaching. He does it at the highest level. He coaches the Oprahs and the Tony Robbinses and the Olympic medalists and presidents of the United States. But he says that his whole career started with a tragic accident when he was a teenager, and he almost died. He got thrown through the window of his life, who was in the car with him. And he stood there on the hood of this car, basically bleeding out, and basically said to God, he said, if I live, if I survive, I want to make this matter. I want to make this, there be a purpose for me being alive and for the loss of my dear loved one, my dear departed, and has spent his whole life now. That's his motivating drive, is that everything he does is to want to say thank you that I'm alive to his creator, and to say there will be a purpose for the suffering, for the pain, and the loss of my loved one. And as a result, he reaches tens of thousands, millions of people around the world.
So he didn't know what the purpose was, but he just believed that there was going to be a purpose that would come to him later. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in fact, what you said there, Steve, was really powerful, is that sometimes we go through life looking for the meaning. You know, Blake goes, what's the meaning of life? And it's my feeling now at my age, 59, that the meaning of life is what we assign it. We don't go find the meaning of life. Wow. We actually generate it, right? And so what Brendan did and what Nish is talking about and what we're talking about both this last episode and this one is that in the suffering of life, rather than look for what's the meaning, what's the purpose of it, we can actually create it. We can assign the meaning to it, which that too is a superpower that only humans have.
That's true. You're right.
What would you say, Nish, to someone who's going through a suffering that isn't? Do you have anything to say on that? I know I'm kind of throwing it at you real quick, but
I know. Well, just quickly, let's say it was a tragic auto accident, but the person survived, but their life is totally changed. And a person comes to mind. Her name is Angela Rockwood. She was an international model. She's so beautiful. And she was in a very bad car accident, and she's now paralyzed. And she was going to be getting married, before this accident had occurred, but that didn't happen. But she turned that tragedy of now she has to live the rest of her life in a wheelchair into a show. I don't know if you ever saw the show Push Girls. She and like 4 other ladies who are all quadriplegic, or they are all in wheelchairs. They did a show about how they live their lives, and they're still doing it. Like even Angela Rockwood still did some modeling, but she's a inspirational speaker. She does many other things, and she's pretty famous. So she took something that ended her life as she knew it and the future that she saw with her husband, and it was destroyed, but she came out of it. So I think that even though I've not had that kind of suffering myself, I know of people and stories that are inspirational. I would try to inspire anyone who is in a bad way like that. That look, don't don't give up on yourself.
Yes.
There is always something that you can do, or some way you can still live a productive and beautiful life. This
Yeah.
girl does, Angela Rockwood. Look her up.
Angela Rockwood.
Push Girls. Look at that show. You know, so that's that would be the only kind of advice I could personally give, but also I would say that you need to get a good therapist too, because I'm not equipped to help you really deep on that. But
Right.
I believe in therapy. That's why those people are therapists.
Agreed. Which
Yep,
comes back to, if you don't get help,
Right.
you don't get help.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't,
that's right.
that it goes also right back to, if you don't ask for help, then you're not. Then no one's going to know that you need it. Right. So it's that help becomes, perhaps that becomes the first word you say in a
Hmm.
tragedy, in a suffering, that I can't make it through this by myself, and I wasn't designed to, for that matter. None of us, right? And that's so. I also want to throw in the name Nick Vujicic. I don't know how to spell his last name, but Nick is widely considered the most inspirational speaker on the planet, and he has no arms and no legs. Nick
Whoa.
Vujicic. If you haven't looked him up, if you haven't heard him speak, he's one of the most positive, upbeat people on the planet, and he has no arms and no legs. And
Was he born that way?
I think he was born that way. I don't remember the
Oh
whole
wow.
story, but he stands. Well, he doesn't stand. He gets propped up and in front of audiences of thousands and talks about how great life is and how grateful he is for his life, even though most of us would think that's. I mean, I would rather die than have to go through what he's going through. But he's just an example, like Angela Rockwood, and actually like all of us on much smaller levels, that pain and suffering is not the end of the road. Oops,
Mm.
I lost Steve. It's not the end of the road. It's an opportunity to start something in a different direction, right? It's so here's one of my phrases I come up with. And I love these phrases that come to me. I call them downloads. It says that a dead end. No, I'm sorry. Let me say this better. A roadblock is not a dead end. It's a detour. And oftentimes we come
Mm.
to a roadblock and we think, well, I can't get from where I'm here to where there, going on the path that I had planned, and so we think it's a dead end and we quit. But Winston Churchill often says, or has said famously, when you're going through hell, keep going. You just might not be able to go in the same direction. Or a sailor would say, when the wind's blowing directly in your face, you tack. You go left to right across that
Hmm.
center path. You still get to your destination. You just have a little few excursions along the way. And that's easy to say, of course, when I'm when I'm
Right.
in the middle of pain. So I'm not trying
Which
to.
is why, but we have to be that way, because when we're struggling, we need somebody to say it to us. It goes back to the song that you talked about in the last episode.
Hmm.
Lean on me, because there's going to come a time when I'm going to need to lean on you. And so we need people to be more solid or up or not struggling as much as we are. When we're going through it, I need somebody a little bit stronger that I can lean on. So
Hmm.
when I'm going something, when they're going through something, so it can also switch,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All
So
right.
I'm going to end with this before we wrap it up. End of this just reference to a story in the Bible that I've mentioned before. And this, Jesus comes to town. He's the healer. Everybody knows he is. He's like a rock star. So everybody crowds around him. And the guy who's laying on the mat, who's been lame since birth, he gets left behind, of course. And four young dudes, dawns on them, hey, this guy needs Jesus more than we do. So they stop, and the crowd goes on ahead, and they pick the guy up on the mat. By the time they get to the house, it's crowded, no way to get in. And they're thinking, oh, gosh, what are we going to do now? But they didn't quit. They found it to be a challenge, and they climb up on the roof, these flat roof houses in Israel, made out of straw and mud, and they begin to tear it apart. It wasn't their house, by the way. And they're creating a scene, and you can imagine pieces of the roof are falling down into the crowd inside the house, including Jesus. And they figured out a way to lower the guy who was laying down on the mat in front of Jesus. But what the coolest thing about the story to me is that according to Scripture, Jesus looks up at the four guys whose heads are like poked through the hole. They want to see what's going to happen, right? They're up on the roof, and they know they're in trouble. They've just destroyed the roof. But the Scripture says Jesus looks at those guys and says, "Because of your faith, this guy's healed." Not because of the faith of the guy on the mat, because of the four guys who went out of their way to bring the guy who was lame and couldn't get there on their own, because of their faith, Jesus heals this guy. And I'm like, wait, seriously, talk about our opportunity. All of us have the opportunity when we're on the mat, we need someone to carry us to the healer. But when we're not on the mat, it's our chance that our faith, our efforts can help heal somebody else. And that's
Good
purpose
story.
for pain, right?
You know, I mentioned is either in this show or the show right before, but I talked about how it was a tough week for me.
Yeah.
It was a sad week, and I'm leaning into that. But one thing that really helped me through that was my brother-in-law needed help putting in stone pavers, and we worked hard. I worked for it last weekend, then I did it again this week, and I just volunteered my time to go up there and help him. And you know what? While I was helping him, I wasn't thinking about the sadness. I wasn't thinking about anything else. One of the best things you can do when you're struggling is to help somebody else, because it takes your focus off, because you're not going to turn your brain off, right? You can't tell yourself, don't feel that, don't think that, just help somebody else. And all of a sudden, not only does my brain not go to where it was, to that sad place, but when I got done helping, the level of happy, the level of help, the level that was inside of me, when I did go back to the sad thing, was almost like, oh, I'm supposed to be sad right now, aren't I? Right? Because when you help somebody, and that goes back to what you've been saying so eloquently all along, Nish, the whole concept of you haven't said this out loud, but you keep talking about it. Basically is taking the energy that you would have to mourn, to suffer, and you're taking that energy. You're still suffering, you're still mourning, but you're taking a lot of your energy and you're doing something positive with it. And you're turning the light on to the darkness of the suffering, and good conversation, guys. Thanks, Nish, for your heart, for what you brought to this conversation. Really appreciate it. We hope you guys are listening.
You're welcome.
Hope it did something for you guys. And
all right, so let's give people a takeaway. So Steve-O, what would be a takeaway, something that people could hang on to when they move on from this recording?
Happy typed it in the chat. She said, it's okay not to be okay. Give yourself permission to suffer yourself. It's okay. And when you're suffering, find positive energy. When you're suffering, find something you can do for something else. Don't try to figure out the struggle for it. Just say, what can I do? And because that woman was a supermodel, that's what made her accident so much more tragic. It's also what made her accident so much more powerful, because now they're looking at someone, well, she's a supermodel, and now she's in a wheelchair. She's still modeling. It even means more now that she went through that. So it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be in the struggle. It's okay to be in the suffer. It's okay to feel sad. Allow that to happen, right? Just in the midst of that, realize I want to get through this someday. And one of the ways I can do that is by helping somebody else. Maybe that's in the same situation as me, maybe not, but find somebody else that you can help. And it takes your focus off whatever we pay. Joe said it last episode, whatever we pay attention to is what we buy. Whatever you pay for, you get. So put your attention on the good things, not just on the negative things. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to suffer. That's okay. Visit that. It's okay not to be okay, but realize there's positive things to look at as well. Take the energy that you'd put into some of that mourning and put it into comforting or helping somebody else.
Yeah. Right on.
Nish, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, I would just like to say that, I love you. Okay. I love you all. And if that's what you need, then I'm here to give it to you. Okay.
Wow. Yay.
I love it.
Yay.
I love it.
Way to go, Nish.
And I'm going to end with a book recommendation.
Can I say something really quick?
Of course. Yeah.
Nish, if they do want to find you, right? We never asked your info. Do you have information that you can find us, or do you not want us to find you? Is there a way that we can find you?
Yeah. Don't look for me. No.
That's fine too. That's up to you.
On Chatmosa, you can go to my page. My podcast is Nish's Niche, Delightful Inspirations, and it's on Chatmosa. And you can go to my page, and there should be contact information there.
Okay.
Right on. Thank you.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you so much for spending your time and sharing your thoughts with us. It's really been an amazing episode, and we love the effect that you took.
Cool.
Thank you, Happy, for recommending us to.
Yes. Way to go, Happy. Way to make us happy.
And I want to end with a book recommendation for those who are really interested in this idea that we can actually be stronger, not in spite of our pain, but because of it. There's one of my favorite books that I've read the last 6 years called Anti-Fragile by Nassam Nicholas Taleb. It's um, an amazing book with lots of research. It's both got a interesting narrative that he created and cites a bunch of cases throughout history of how humans generally fall into three categories when they go through something terrible. Either they're fragile and they get crushed, they get destroyed, or they're strong enough to persevere, right? They've got the grit, the perseverance to make it through. And then there's another category, and he's got examples throughout the book of people who are, and he coined the term anti-fragile because there wasn't a word for this. He says anti-fragile is when, not just in spite of your pain, but because of it, you're actually stronger on the other side. And he gives lots of examples, but the easiest one to remember is when you're building muscles, when you're working out, you're actually tearing at the fabric of your muscles. There's little micro tears.
You're tearing it down.
And your body says, repair that, and repair it, make it stronger than it was before.
Yeah.
And as a result, your muscles grow because you tear at them. And then to take that subject just a little bit further, I heard this podcaster, and I can't think of her name at the moment, but she says, and your heart is a muscle. So when your heart gets torn, it will repair itself with the help of good friends, and it will be stronger as a result. And
I'll also say this too.
Yes.
Your heart is a muscle, so work it out.
Mm-hmm.
Work it out. Work out that heart with love. And the best way to do that is when you're in an ugly state, when you're in a difficult state, when the suffering is there, to love somebody else, to make somebody else happy. You want to talk about tearing the heart and then rebuilding it stronger. I think that's an incredible. I love that idea, Joe, of your heart is a muscle too. So exercise it.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us for this happy half hour, episode 14. We'll be back either on Wednesday or Thursday. We haven't decided that. We'll send out notices on all the platforms, and make sure you check out Niche.
Niche.
Yeah, Delightful Inspirations. Do you have something else you wanted to add, Niche, before we go?
No, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to chat with you today. And thank you for your wonderful show. I'm going to be coming back.
Yes. All right.
And checking you guys out. All right.
And we'll check you out as well. All right. So on behalf of Steve O'Hayes, I'm Mojo McCarthy and Nish and Happy and Dan and anybody else who has tuned in on TikTok. Thank you so much for spending your time here. We realize that time is the most valuable and non-renewable resource you've got. And so the fact that you're spending it with us, we want to make sure it's not time spent, it's time invested, and that it will pay great dividends. The seeds that you plant will create a harvest in your future. So until next time, peace out and
peace in.
Peace in. Bye now.
All right.